both from the team standpoint and from the players. We're through tremendous momentum in the WNBA. It's not lost on anyone. I feel like in the last point of anything commercials is that popularity of players, owners are pointing up to the WNBA and someone, we know from the ongoing director of the season.
The race for the bottom is handled. Adam Silver did talk about the WNBA CBA negotiations, and he did call for urgency. This is interesting. By the way,
the hammer has finally dropped, and the most powerful man in basketball has had enough. 4 months, the Women's National Basketball Association Players Union has pushed hard in negotiations, calling for revenue sharing, stronger labor protections, and a larger financial stake in a league they believe is on the rise. Along the way, tensions have spilled onto social media. Public statements have grown sharper, and the debate over profits, sustainability, and growth has intensified. Supporters argue the players are fighting for a fair share's interest in women's basketball surges, while critics question the financial realities of a league that has historically relied on support from the National Basketball Association. That tension reached a new level at All-Star Weekend, when NBA Commissioner Adam Silver addressed the situation publicly as the executive whose league has long backed the WNBA's operations. His remarks carried significant weight. Silver's message was clear. Progress requires partnership, not brinkmanship. With collective bargaining talks looming and the future direction of the league at stake, the spotlight is now firmly on the union's next move and on whether both sides can strike a deal that protects the momentum women's basketball has worked so hard to build.
Towards the next level of a sense of urgency and not lose momentum in terms of the amazing amount of progress we've seen in women's basketball. So he's saying right there, we're finally getting traction, we're finally getting ratings, we're finally getting ticket sales. If we don't play, you're going to blow it. You're going to blow it.
Let's take a closer look at the specific language Adam Silver used. Because in the corporate world, wording like this carries real weight. When he said, "I'm not ready to set a drop-dead date." But he wasn't offering reassurance. He was signaling urgency. What followed was a clear outline of how little time remains before the league faces serious disruption. With roughly 2 months until training camps are scheduled to open, the clock is ticking. In that span, the Women's National Basketball Association must conduct its draft, organize an expansion draft for the Golden State Rockies, and open free agency so rosters can take shape. None of those steps can move forward without a ratified collective bargaining agreement. You can't draft players into a league without defined labor rules. And you can't launch expansion franchise without financial structures in place. By spelling out the timeline so precisely, Silver underscored where the real leverage lies, not in public pressure, but in the calendar itself. If a deal isn't reached by mid-April, the season could be delayed. A delay risks straining relationships with broadcast partners. And once television partners grow uneasy, revenue projections become uncertain. Silver has lived through NBA lockouts and understands how quickly momentum can unravel. His remarks suggested that this isn't theoretical brinkmanship. It's a narrowing window. The message was clear. The 11th hour isn't approaching. It's already arrived.
How much money they're offered. Multiple sources told ESPN that the league projected the union's plan would result in $700 million in losses during the agreement, and that it would jeopardize the league's financial health. However,
one of the more revealing dynamics in this dispute has been the public push from union leaders, including Breanna Stewart, for Adam Silver to take a direct role at the bargaining table. The implication was clear. If the NBA commissioner stepped in personally, negotiations might accelerate or tilt in the players' favor. At the same time, that public appeal was widely interpreted as a sign of frustration with Kathy Angelberg, who formally oversees the Women's National Basketball Association. Silver's response, however, was carefully measured. He stated that he has not been sitting at the table while acknowledging he remains involved behind the scenes. In executive terms, that signals a deliberate choice to preserve structure. The WNBA has its own commissioner, its ownership group, and its own negotiating framework rather than a dramatic snub. Silver's distance can also be read as strategic governance. By avoiding direct participation, He reinforces that labor talks are between the WNBA and its Players Association, not the NBA stepping in as a day-to-day negotiator. Publicly, he has struck a diplomatic tone, expressing optimism about progress. Privately, it's reasonable to assume he is aligned with ownership on maintaining financial discipline, especially given the broader economics of league operations. The episode underscores a key reality. While the NBA provides backing and infrastructure support, the WNBA operates as its own entity with its own leadership. Any assumption that the NBA commissioner would personally override that structure may have overestimated how these corporate boundaries are maintained.